Hello, you are watching the final bulletin of the week. I'm Marina Kim and here are the top stories. The source of the hepatitis outbreak in Ekibastuz is still undetermined. President Nazarbayev asked the financial police to increase efforts in fighting corruption. Eastern Kazakhstan faces deficit of coal. Traders blame consumers for the situation. On Friday, President Nazarbayev spoke with the head of the financial police, Kairat Kazhamzharov, and told him not to succumb to provocations and not follow the lead of corrupt officials. The nation's leader noted with regret that all the achievements of Kazakhstan, praised by the international community, are usually criticized by the local press.
When anti-corruption agencies deal with major cases, they always face active counteraction in the form of defamation of personnel and even protection of corrupt officials, said President Nursultan Nazarbayev on Friday during his meeting with the chief of the financial police. The president sounded regretful and threatening at the same time, while speaking of corrupt officials and the press. The fight will be tough. We need to see to the end, ignoring any insinuations and provocations which aim to turn law enforcement agencies against each other through distrust. These organizations are now working hard in their fight with corruption. Politicians took the statement of the nation's leader as his personal dissatisfaction with the recent events, widely covered by the oppositional press. Evidently, this is not just about former high-ranking officials. Several oppositional activists are now also targeted by anti-corruption agencies and became first-page material. Their goal is to imprison people, conceal events and shut down media outlets. The head of the financial police simply complained to the president that this mission hasn't been accomplished yet, and it seems that the president will take necessary measures. Indifferently of whether there are materials about corruption in the press, I think that the state doesn't carry out systematic, clean and fair work against it. This is why the president gives orders to the chairman of the committee to work on these cases despite of the press. This is all a game. If media bring lies to the public, they should be brought to justice. However, if they talk about clannishness or corruption cases with showdowns between different groups, it shouldn't be seen as a negative phenomenon. Large-scale anti-corruption campaign at the top began 2 years ago. Some state officials have already served their terms, others are still behind bars. There are also those, like the former health minister Doskaliyev, who are still under investigation. The society is split about the persecution of officials. Now politicians say that the new task of the nation's leader will be questioned by the society as well, and still be discussed in the press despite any threats.
Nazarbayev University will not be a part of the state education system, said on Friday the school's vice president Kadisha Dairova. Next year, the parliament will review a bill regulating the activities of the university, which will be fully independent, at least in the education process.
Dairova assures that such are the international requirements and the university is responsible for the study process and the quality of education. The Board of Trustees will deal with all the management issues and appoint director and faculty. In 2014, the university plans to open a medical school based on the American model, which will have 3 research centers with 1 working on macrobiotics. The university management said that Nursultan Nazarbayev personally makes adjustments to the general plan of its development. For instance, the head of state repeatedly urged scientists to create the so-called elixir of youth. The first steps in macrobiotics will start in the labs of Nazarbayev University in 5 years. We're signing agreements on the construction of campuses. Also, we're looking for scientists who could not only conduct research of the highest level, but also share their knowledge with students.
Pavlodar sanitary authorities are still looking for the source of the hepatitis A outbreak. So far, all of the leads failed to bring positive results. Interestingly, health officials reported that all of the infected 27 children were in contact with each other, although pupils themselves say some of them were even from different schools and never met before.
The number of children infected with hepatitis in Ekibastuz grew to 27. The sanitary authorities say that all patients contracted the disease through contacts with other infected kids. The first case was reported untimely while the child was still attending school and spread the infection by contacting others. At the same time, the school itself was found violating sanitary norms, which also contributed to the spread of the disease. Infection doctors disagree with this assessment. They say that 3 of the sick children attended different schools and didn't know each other. Only a couple of kids are from the same group. These patients never had contacts with each other and were admitted at different times. According to another version, the outbreak could have been caused by water. The school where pupils first felt the symptoms had only one faucet. Sanitary authorities called this a severe violation, although this surprises their headmistress. Apparently, there has always been only one water source, but in the past inspectors never said anything about it. We had inspections in the past, but all they told us we always fixed immediately. There have never been any complaints from the inspectors that we only have one faucet running filtered water. The outbreak is now monitored by the prosecution office, which decided to sample water across the entire town. The virus was not found there. The town prosecutor is inclined to believe the watermelon is the likely source, but say the final results will be announced in mid-November. After studying all the case materials, it is apparent some blame is to be placed on the parents, as they attempted to treat their children on their own, not going to doctors. Due to the outbreak, Ekibastuz pupils had to finish the quarter 1 week earlier than scheduled. 8 patients of reported 27 have been discharged from the hospital already, but are still in quarantine. Representatives of the local education department say that the fall break could be extended even further.
Common source hepatitis is typical for areas with an adequate hygiene level. Every summer, not many patients, mostly children from southern parts of the country, end up in hospitals with the infectious jaundice. There, the source of infection is often found in the bad water. The issue of water quality was raised on Friday during the conference on the integrated management of water resources. The event was attended by specialists from Germany who shared their experience in water supply. Foreign experts were shocked to find out that some residents of an oil-rich country still consume water that doesn't meet basic sanitary norms. In turn, Kazakh officials presented their new project Akbulak, which will partially replace the failed 8-year-long program Drinking Water.
Kazakh energy experts can learn from the German experience, where nearly 100% of the population is connected to the centralized water grid, and almost a quarter of the world market is supplied by the German hydro technology. The Germans offer to assist Kazakhstan with the development of water strategy while considering the interests of other Central Asian states. Also, foreign specialists are ready to supply Kazakhstan with the latest equipment and help with training, but not investments. We're talking exclusively about the latest technologies. Kazakhstan is no longer a developing country, and it doesn't need any money. Therefore, we're ready to help with modern developments and professionally trained personnel. There will be no German investments into Kazakh water sector. Experts criticized Kazakh Ministry of Agriculture for their irrational use of water resources and discussed an 8-year-long program Drinking Water, which produced poor results, as many regions of the country still use delivered water that doesn't meet sanitary norms. However, Kazakh specialists were not discouraged and expressed their readiness to launch a new program Akbulak, or White Stream, and focus on urban water supply. The problem of drinking water supply is not completely resolved in Kazakhstan, but over $1 billion have been already invested in the sector, and according to the latest estimate, several times more is needed, as the last program couldn't resolve all the existing problems. The issue of Balkhash was raised yet again. The lake is on the verge of shallowing due to the irrational reclamation. Unfortunately, the problem cannot be solved only with ideas. While all the necessary calculations have been already made by the Kazakh experts in the past, the budget of the Agriculture Ministry that oversees the Water Resources Committee is not enough for all water projects. Local experts do not even know how to explain the situation to foreign specialists. All countries in the world have special bodies responsible and competent in water issues, whereas the Agriculture Ministry simply doesn't have enough personnel in corresponding committees. For instance, the Transport Water Department has only 5 people working in it. One of the main problems is bureaucracy. State officials do not use help of foreign or local experts. Apparently, they see no point in wasting time, because any program can be declared failed at any time, and it is always easier to come up with new projects and then ask for new substantial state financing.
The shortage of coal is becoming extreme in the east of the country. In Ust-Kamenogorsk, dozens of trucks from around the region form kilometer-long queues at railway sidings just to get some hard fuel. Drivers say the same situation is observed for already several days.
I've never seen anything like that before. A queue of 15 cars is forming here by 3 o'clock. Not only city residents but also villagers are coming here to get coal as there is no other place besides the city to buy it. According to drivers, Ust-Kamenogorsk has only 2 coal bases where the fuel is available with only 1 truck serving it. Meanwhile, the supply company complains about the shortage of train cars. The base orders 17 of them every day, but 3 times less arrive. Similar situation is observed across the whole country. The authorities of eastern Kazakhstan are not intervening into the situation with coal just yet, while traders blame buyers for aggravating the situation. Meanwhile, weather forecasters predict rapid drop of temperature and precipitation in the area. The queue was formed by buyers themselves. In the summer, no one was buying coal, and now they are, but there is a lack of train cars.
In the meantime, the largest coal mining company in Kazakhstan, ArcelorMittal Temirtau, used a voluntary resignation method to dismiss 3,000 of its employees, reported on Friday the deputy governor on the region Serhiy Kuteshov. The layoffs were avoided among metallurgists and miners. Instead, market and supply, wage and labor departments employees lost their jobs.
In addition, it is expected that the company will sack over 100 administrative employees in the near future. All of them will be employed within the framework of the roadmap program, while the unemployed will be registered by the local employment center, said the deputy governor. Nevertheless, the trade union of metallurgists Zhaktau has already filed a lawsuit to the Temirtau court, demanding ArcelorMittal Temirtau to cancel its cutback order affecting 137 employees. Last Tuesday, the court suspended the order until the end of trial. In September, the number of employees of ArcelorMittal Temirtau reached more than 40,000 people, with 17% representing administrative staff.
Leaders of independent oil workers' trade unions in western Kazakhstan support the government in its intent to nationalize the oil industry. The topic was raised during a seminar in Almaty dedicated to the signing of the collective agreement. Representatives of trade unions say the situation in the tripartite relationship between the state, employers and workers must finally change.
The wave of strikes in the west of the country will subside, says public activist Mukhtar Umbetov. He is confident that if the state will buy a share of foreign companies, the question of Kazakh content and the work conditions will change with the consideration of demands of local trade unions. Umbetov notes that the creation of independent labor movements in the Mangistau region is already underway. Strikes played their role as wages were raised and social payments reserved. Now it is necessary to reform the work of existing old-format trade unions and force them to use new methods in their approach to negotiations between employees and the authorities. I absolutely agree with the position of the government. It had to be done sooner. The contracts with mining companies like Kashagan and Karachaganak were signed in the 90s, when the state was weak. The government is a prisoner of this situation because it is now bonded with these contracts, and that is where I would emphasize the role of trade unions.
At the same time, protests in the country's capital only gain momentum. On Friday, desperate real estate investors visited the office of the ruling party Nur Otan. This time people came prepared with bags full of food, expressing their readiness to actually live in the party's office until someone will care to explain them what is going on with the problematic housing.
Hero glasses, biscuits and boiled eggs. Everything is prepared. The water is over there. Soon we will move in here, as we have no other place to live. Nur Otan is our home. Around 100 real estate investors are in the office of the ruling party since early morning. They intend to move in here in protest. The owners of unfinished apartment blocks came to the office for answers. They are waiting for the MPs to stand for their citizens. We have food and water, so we can spend the night here. The first to meet with the protesters was the member of the Public Commission Mukhtar Kitaev. He made daring statements by saying that 36,000 complaints about the unfinished constructions have been already resolved, and the rest of co-investors will be settled in the state-paid apartments next year. All the issues and problems of real estate investors and mortgages are being solved. So let's not talk about this specific problem. If we will just make noise, we will not resolve anything. However, shareholders didn't hold back on their intention to spend the night in the office and demanded to meet with the superintendent. The MP Aygul Solovyova personally came to listen to the demands of each and every real estate investor. Let's discuss this problem. The security is doing its job and I will do mine. The party member decided to discuss the issue of the real estate investors behind the closed doors. As was revealed later, the MP took a responsibility to raise the issue of real estate investors during the upcoming plenary session. Already next week, she will announce the results of her work.